And the button is slammed.
All right.
He's made of copper. How did that happen? Yo ho ho! He took a bite of old.
Welcome back to Dragon Blood Exalted 3rd Edition, Crimes of Nature. Last time was a fairly serious session, as people who've been there last week live or were catching up on the recordings would know. I want to bring up in advance that I am not planning on getting that emotionally intense in this session. We are going to be addressing some of the narrative drawdown of what happened, but it is going to be somewhat a narrative time, somewhat an active time, and I'm just giving it some time to rest rather than go right back into that level of intensity for the sake of my players, my audience, and the pacing of the story. But for the quick recap, for those who missed it or those who checked out, the Hearth managed to get the village together for a celebration of Bismuth Maw and his stewardship of the village. This hit him very hard. He was not expecting that level of public admiration and attitude, and the Hearth's choice of approach and words dug pretty deep into a lot of pre-existing, hang-ups that he had, and there was a rather intense argument and unburying of hang-ups and traumas within Bismuth's life. And the group found out that he had been in active contact with Ruby Gauntlet Tyrant, as well as the Sidereal, who is now known to have at least the name of the Executor and actively working with Tyrant, and an unknown agent of Malpheus, who appears to be an empowered human rather than a demon. A lot of begrudging assistance / I don't like this, but I'm doing it, and it's just a lot of arguments back and forth of why he was doing what he was doing, and understanding how he had come to this, and helping him find a way out. From there, we catch up to the current state of things, where probably, because that happened late at night, it would be a situation where Bismuth would just crash back to sleep, not in full, hibernative sleep, but just going to bed, and the rest of the crew would either be too wired to sleep or go to bed, depending on each person's particular response to what happened, I would think. But Bismuth is definitely in a space where it's like, I need an actual night's sleep before I do anything about this. So, the morning after is one that is, kind of fairly awkward, considering the exchanges that were had, and some of the village kind of asking without getting too directive, like, is everything okay? Just looking for any sort of reassurance. Bismuth actually does come out early in the morning to give some brief reassurances of like, yeah, I'm alive. Yeah, they're alive. We're all good. It's fine. We'll get to what happened later. But otherwise is kind of just back in the cave and still processing. There,
took his hour of sleep substitute meditation, and then would have been up all night sweeping the cave, tidying the cave.
Yeah, as mentioned last time, there is an absolute fuck ton of clutter and a lot of letters. And as he gave you open license to go through them, probably a fair bit of reading the letters as you were sorting them and either putting them aside for some point or something lines. Narratively speaking, I do have a couple of letters actually written out up in text. As I said last time, I'm not really going to go into that. But consider the narrative of the letters and the epistolary stuff between him, Tyrant, the Executor, and the Infernal, because I'm just not going to drop the pretense at this point. Ask me questions of if you have seen something in those letters if something comes up, and I will tell you whether or not it would have been in that trove.
We have now files.
You have a filing system of like, would we have seen or known this?
Yeah, Yang's keeping the journal.
Yeah. Yang honestly would be able probably to copy over a lot of relevant notes in shorthand while helping out.
He's getting pretty good at it from from bureaucratic training.
Mhm. But otherwise, yeah, I believe several PCs had ideas of how to handle the next day or so, or whatever period of time that the crew would be here helping.
I have a scene with Bear and Obsidian in mind, but it would be one that, excuse me, in order to, like, for the comfort of Bear, Obsidian would probably try and make more private, so he would be waiting for a moment when not a lot of the rest of the hearth was there.
Yeah, that would probably come up either naturally or either just kind of through general. I would like to have a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I would believe most of the hearth would be willing to facilitate that in Obsidian's case. So it's probably 2 in the afternoon of the next day at this point. The cave has largely been cleaned up thanks to Repose working through the night and the morning. Everyone else is doing the projects around the village that they had planned, or otherwise helping time pass and assisting. And Obsidian kind of walks up to Bismuth, who is on a pile of treated hides and furs that he has been using as a bed, and honestly, looks pretty comfortable just because of how incredibly deep and how many furs there are. It is the effect of it has become a mattress from how many there are, and you get the feeling that he probably hunted most of these himself. Maybe even treated a lot of these hides himself. Just kind of sitting there, kind of just staring into space. It is a familiar expression to Obsidian of, I feel like I should be doing something to distract myself, but everything I can think of would probably make this. So I'm just kind of sitting.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I'm getting some indigestion right now at the worst possible time.
All right, make sure to take care of yourself. Yeah.
It's fine. It's just really annoying. The one thing I didn't prepare for this is, here we go. Is this what I want? I need a couple of random names. And like actual names, not like...
Yeah.
Okay. So would, like, if he does not acknowledge me or what have you, either way,
He would glance over when you were coming over with the intent to speak, just kind of like huh?
pause in character of like, all right, you're about to broach a really sensitive subject, but how do you had this planned out in your head, but when you are here looking at the man, it is a little rough. Anyway, would say to him like, during the day, and this is like he's actually saying this in character. A lot of things were said, and one in particular is I made a comparison of myself to you. Of you were talking about your own loss, I myself, and I almost made it sound as if what I had lost was even equal to yours. And for that, initially, I would like to apologize to you.
There's just kind of a grunt and a kind of shrug of the shoulders up and down of just like, an acceptance, if not an enthusiastic one.
But on that subject, I was wondering if you let me tell you about them.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
And it's at this point that Obsidian starts listing names. It says, "Who was this one man, Nabuk? He was older in the military for a very long time. Could never really seem to go up. Was so loyal, maybe to a fault." And we continue. Talked about another man, Asa, who was like a fresh recruit, bright-eyed, all this. And you would go through, continue.
Mhm.
All, and this was maybe about like 2 or 3 hours would pass as he literally lists off each individual member of the platoon that he lost.
He goes from kind of being distractedly looking away for a while to watching you intensely, just with like a slight delay even on his eye blinking, of just complete focused rapturous attention to this as you are reciting the names of those that you have lost.
And as Obsidian approaches like the last name, he just sort of like pauses for a moment and just says, "I really did everything I could. It just came down to something somebody else did, and I couldn't do anything about it." And unless like it looks like Bear is going to say anything.
He actually is like looking down and thinking. Like, it is the look of like glancing down in deep thought for a period of time.
Is there a map anywhere in the room?
Probably like a local rough map of the environs, but not like a big regional one. Or
Not like what we have on the side here on the one.
no, it would be something like relevant to this
Okay.
area.
Um,
But he glances up. You would have liked Mahada.
Mahaba?
Mahada was not quite as big as you, at least tall, but about as wide. Funny thing about that was, everybody thought that Mahada was the strongest person in the village, and then anyone who really knew them, walking by, would tell you that a strong breeze could have knocked him over. Gillis didn't exactly give him a strong constitution, even if it looked like it. Had a heart like yours. Committed themselves. Didn't let any of the exhaustion stop them until sometimes it felt like I had to come in person telling them to take a rest if it had to listen, because nobody else could get through. But they were somebody that makes me think of you. Just reminds me. Hung around with Sunila all the time. Sunila was a lot different than you. Little reed in the wind. Always out with her partner. Mahada was always trying to throw themselves out into a big construction project or another, some way of pushing through it all. Sunila was always the one trying to drag him back by the collar, get him back into bed. Always the one at the tea houses listening to all the local gossip, the one I would always be able to talk to, and whether I wanted to know it or not, I'd hear what was going on. Everybody. And starts kind of going in a just kind of a loosely connected pinballing around connection of memories, the same way that you had been doing with your platoon. Just, you get the feeling that it is nowhere near the same number of people in the village, but it's literally is just vocalizing the train of thought of memories. And,
At some point early on, once Obsidian realized like what was happening to an extent, he would actually pull out like some sort of like notebook, like something for taking notes on, and actually start writing all this down.
Mm-hmm. It is, again, probably several hours long, and you get the sensation that it is not. It is only a scratch on the surface. After all, he mentioned that he had seen 8 generations of that village come and go. And there is a distinct feeling and some direct mentions of crossing 100 or 200 years at once, just going back and forth of, like, you know, mentioning someone, then immediately remembering their great-grandparent and comparing or contrasting them, and then starting to talk about the social situations at that time, and then bouncing back and forth. It's honestly really kind of difficult to follow until you get into the flow of how he's thinking, at which point it is just a very natural expression of emotion, of remembrance.
And also like engaging in the conversation sort of back and forth. Mm-hmm. Obsidian would like clarify how people related to each other.
Mm-hmm. And
for out of character,
yeah,
Obsidian is making a record of the Lost Village.
And Bismuth would pick up on that after a point. Like at one point, it's just the writing down. It's just like, oh, it's a curious thing. But after you start making it clear that you're asking for like genealogical connections and historical periods, it's clear that he recognizes what you are doing and tries to straighten out the temporal nature of it and the history nature of it somewhat, but it is still all kind of tied up in its own yarn ball at this point. And it feels like it is in a way of remembering it that is almost impossible to actually, even if you directly asked him to start at the start and go to the end, you don't think he would be able to. But it is, you get a, if not comprehensive, then very detailed account of his primary memories of happiness and enjoyment in the village, and some of the more dour ones, but in ways that are clear that these are ones that he had already processed and, you know, come to terms with in a healthy manner, like from like way back before the village was destroyed, like particularly hard-hitting tragedies or deaths and how the community responded to that. And he's like actually spends a little time lingering on those, as if deliberately sitting on them to remember how it went. But otherwise would just let go with the memories as long as you were willing to listen and write.
And Obsidian would go as long as he is willing to talk. But whenever that starts to wind down, Obsidian would say something along the lines of, you know, like sort of like closing the notebook and, you know, putting the writing implement in the spine or however of this era that would work.
Yeah.
would
You get
say,
both.
"Oh, memory is fallible. It's always good to keep a record of these things one way or another." I actually still hold on to the roll call list for my squad, just so I.
You actually briefly see Bismuth's eyes flick over to the now neatly sorted stack of letters over on the desk when you say that you like to keep things because memory is fallible.
It's good to always be able to look back, have a hard record of your past, however long that may be.
Something I should have started doing earlier, I suppose.
It's never too late to start. Which may, one way or another, be a parting word as Obsidian
Yeah.
does leave the notebook, like on a table as he steps out.
He does leave the conversation at that. And you kind of hear him, as you are leaving, kind of go for and pick up the notebook to start thumbing through it again.
And yeah, I'm gonna add a 2-dot tie to pair of like, yeah, man.
Man.
Yeah,
So-
man, comma, same.
There were some other discussions of plans, ideas, etc. for how to handle the come down. 2 dots is major.
3 is defining, and that is like it's like a character, as it says, like a character defining thing.
A central part of it.
When we broke up the previous night, Angler was going to look at the drawing he made on the ground of the fish and look over at the bear's sigil for a second. Kind of get an idea in his head. And as he's leaving, he's going to tap Repose on the shoulder and say, when you finish cleaning up, step outside. And he's going to go out and find a place that's, I know there's not much moonlight, but enough that he can see what he's doing, and just start drawing in the dirt. Not really thinking about it at first, but the more he puts time into it, the more it starts to be closer and closer to the sigil that the bear had of the bear around the three cubs.
Yeah.
And just starting to get ideas in his head of, all right, this is something I can do, and more just intricately crafting it in a way that he has to rub scratch it out a couple times because it doesn't go quite the way he wants it to, but until more and more it becomes fixed in his head of, all right, I can work with this, but I can't do this by myself. And he's going to be drawing in the dirt, or at least not exactly drawing, but more like painting, but just with a stick. And is going to wait for any of his brothers to stop by because he's starting to get an idea, but he's not going to, after that very charged night, he's not going to go searching for people.
So, Repose, Milan, Yang, and Old Man. Active. Well, Repose is partially accounted for.
Partially?
Hmm?
What happened to him?
Like other people, if
What would
they
you be
want to
up to?
float, what
Oh, I
their
thought- I thought
immediate
something
overnight
happened to him.
reaction is.
No. I was more of like, floating. What would your activities be?
If anyone else would like to set a scene for
If
what
not,
they have
that's
going
fine.
on.
I don't really particularly know how Yang would react to it, honestly. He'd probably just be like processing it for a long time.
Yeah, that's entirely fair. Yeah.
And I feel that's going to be the same with Milan.
Mm-hmm.
Old man didn't experience any of it.
Yeah, old man was not involved in any of it.
So, explaining a little bit away about like where he was during everything going down. Lightly embarrassed by the entire bee affair, that that having gone down, spooking everyone with the mahjong, being annoyed having not been able to play, among other things. He kind of just went and pouted for a while, and felt down his weirdly buffed surface of being like feeling slightly younger than he normally does.
It's pretty weird.
The metallic scar tissue having been like kind of eaten away a little bit of his front and all that. And so he completely missed basically anything that was going on. And then say like 18, 25, up to 30 hours later would have rejoined the zone in the village again and whatnot.
First thing you would see is probably Angler drawing in the dirt.
Very mild jealousy that Angler is already better at it than he is, but otherwise completely ignoring it. Honestly,
Mm-hmm. And about that point, I think Obsidian will be passing by Angler as well. You know, just on the way out from memorializing.
and noticing where Obsidian was coming from.
That you would see a cave that Obsidian came out of that is larger and more dug into the ground. And in hindsight, there was a lot of noise coming from that general direction. You weren't really paying attention to it, though.
It's weird.
Old man reactivates some older neurons and thinks about relationship counseling.
Oh no!
Was I ever any good at that? It's been a long time. Probably not. Should I try anyway? Philosophical debate is probably a better way to do it. An internal monologue flashes through old man's brain in like a second of having a really bad idea, then turning into a slightly less bad idea. And then just dusts himself off. Appears to be significantly more like he looks a lot better than he has in ages. And then he's going to just stride into the cave. A little bit like actually like slowly and calmly and taking a look around kind of way though first.
So, old man not having seen the clutter and now seeing what Repose had done to help clean up, it's now fairly well sorted. You can tell from the dust that there's like a couple of bits here and there that are like still pretty heavily dusted, and just you have the vibe of this has been very recently cleaned.
Of course,
there's a stack of paper.
It looks very clean. That means it's been recently cleaned. That's how it works.
You see the large figure of Bismuth kind of with a small notebook in his hand. Well, normal sized, small looking in his hands. Notebook, reading through it before glancing up, looking at you, and having kind of several expressions flash across his face at once. Huh. Didn't figure you would
correct.
be...
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this is our second time meeting.
Yeah,
I believe. Right.
Didn't figure you'd be coming down off of your mountain.
In a way, I don't want to, but I feel like it is correct if I did so.
Pause. Snaps notebook shut, looks back up. Now that's a change.
Ah, of course. From the outside in, it always looks like it's a change. But remember the word I just used. Correct.
I suppose so.
The correct action. The old man actually pauses here, thinking about how do you describe the correct action? And then he just shrugs, is the correct action.
Bismuth,
Whether that's sitting on a mountain or doing some work.
Bismuth actually takes that in total stride and nods, like seems to actually completely understand what you're saying.
hmm
So, what do you feel is correct then?
Yeah, currently going with the flow. Following around a bunch of youngins and one mostly still youngin.
Ah,
Seeing what befalls them, possibly saving the world in some long distant who cares kind of way.
that actually gets a pretty rueful chuckle out of Bismuth. You're considerably more cynical about it than the rest of them, I'll tell you that.
That's simple age. Age and relative age, I guess you could say. I know that one day every one of them would vastly exceed my lifetime and still be as young as they are now. And I think that's the secret. It won't really age. The
Never
threat
going.
of the threat of entropy does not come to them as easily.
No, it's
It's
even
a
if
perspective that they need, I think.
I would agree. And even if that weren't a factor, frankly, I outpace you by a couple of centuries, and I consider you older than me in a couple of ways.
Old man also laughs at that. It's like, that's actually quite flattering. I appreciate it.
It wasn't meant as flattery, but you can take what you get. He just kind of puts the notebook down. Leans up
Flattery
against
is
the
only
table.
as you take it.
So what do you think of it?
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't actually mean to cut in there
No.
once.
Bismuth actually just kind of looks old man dead in the eyes and says, "What do you think of them?"
Good kids. Like goes ahead and looks back at every single one of them that is visible from the cave, which I think only like two of them are, but still. Good kids who care too much.
uh,
But from what I could tell, you know quite a lot about caring too much, I think.
oh, did they already tell you, or is it just that obvious on my face?
It probably wouldn't be as obvious as it was unless it was like yesterday.
You're right. They all care too goddamn much, and that's why I can't bring myself to hate them.
Old
Okay.
man is going to, for once, like ever, he's going to walk up a little bit closer, and he's going to sit down alongside him on his bed, maybe, and just like put a hand on his shoulder, if that's possible.
Yeah. Just shrink down to get a sit on the fur, hand on shoulder.
Yeah. I don't think this counts. Like looking down at the bed and then looking at the ground.
It's fur, not the ground. I get it.
Do you want my advice? From one old man to another?
Yeah, let's hear it.
We're already old. Time is what time is. It's gonna keep on going. There's only so much and so long anyone can care about anything, isn't there?
Deliberate silence in response.
It could be a very long time. He looks at Bismuth about this. I do mean it. It's not wrong to care for an extremely long time, but think as far back as you can and how much that you've completely abandoned how things were so long ago. Everything's the same under Under the
You-
sky.
When you say completely abandoned, you actually feel the muscles under your hand tense reflexively, but then just relax again, just kind of stress.
Old man's gonna notice that, and he's going to go ahead and put up like one finger. It's not wrong to think of like. Don't beat yourself up about it. It's not wrong.
I'm gonna tell you a story that I didn't tell them.
By all means.
That village in the valley wasn't the first time that I tried to protect the community. First time was with my family. To not dwell. I was in a position where I was a better parent to my siblings than my parents were. And that's what got Luna's attention. When I fixed that problem, I decided to make sure that nothing like that would ever happen to the rest of them again. Or anybody else. Problem with that is, some of my siblings disagreed.
Just a good old shrug at that. People are people.
People are people, and give so much of yourself to them when you're that young, and you do what you think is right. And some you see walk away, and some you see run. The ones that stay face their own problems. It sets a tone.
If you'd like to know which one I was, I would definitely be the one to walk away. Just it's
No shit.
not
There's
worth
another-
worrying about.
I keep trying to tell myself that, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
I just want everyone who's watching to picture in their mind an image here of these two having this discussion. Over there on the left, with Bismuth, is sad nothing matters image. To the right on Old Man is kid with
The
the thumbs
rad-
up and
The kid
rad
rad, nothing
sunglasses.
matters.
Nothing matters.
The fucking Linkin Park 80s pop beat version of Numb.
Exactly. It's going to be kind of a lot of that. It's going to be a lot of back and forth of old listening. And then it's kind of like in as light and as reasonable of a way as he can think of, basically putting out like, long time ago, it's something that you can give up. It's not, there's nothing stopping you aside from yourself. And it's understandable to not be able to overcome that immediately. But it'll come in time, just like everything does.
Yeah, there's roll me a. Let me look at your sheet just real quick.
This is extremely a manipulation thing.
Yeah, no, I was going to say manipulation. I'd say this is also socialized rather than presence. So yeah, this is Old Man revealing Old Man has secret power.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and roll my 10 dice on this. Old Man doesn't get to do this very often.
Old man's secret technique.
And also
grandpa
is apparently rolling
conversation.
really bad today. Oof.
Hmm.
Oof.
Ouch.
Ooh.
Vicious.
Achi. I'm still gonna give that the one free success for 2 at least. It's not
Yeah.
gonna like overcome any intimacies that he has, but at least it will not be like
It is not
annoying.
offensive, and it is one of those things where old man can very much tell, because old man also
He probably wants to agree with old man,
He
but just can't do
desperate-
it.
he desperately wants to, and there are times in his life where he could, in fact, internalize it and then run with it, and then the cloud comes back over his head.
By
It's-
the way, I want to emphasize this for anyone who's talking, watching, and all that. When I say everything that I have done so as old man, I don't mean it in a way of, hey, just stop being depressed. It's not okay. You can just get over it.
No.
That is not my intention, nor is it old man's intention.
Yeah, this is a very distinct approach to reconciling with the past that is not just forget about it. And that is why Bismuth is not biting your head off. Because he understands where old man is actually coming from. And it is one of those things where it is, I try. And it's nice to hear somebody validate that as a good and correct approach. It's just fucking hard, man.
Mm-hmm. And by the time they both start to get talking in circles about it, because that's inevitably going to happen with this result, old man will get up and be, I'll leave you alone.
Hey. I appreciate it.
I felt like it was the correct thing to do to try, at least. And then clack, 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 he walks out of the cave.
Yeah.
All right, so I
Take a
think
deep breath and is going to go, well, that was refreshing. And then just, go back up into the trees.
so. I think in the time between, surrounding cumulatively the time that old man has spent doing that, and that Obsidian spent
Obsidian as well.
interviewing
That's a
and
lot of
exchanging.
time, yeah.
That's an amount of time that Angler and Repose could have briefly met
Had their
up
moment.
and crossed paths.
Yes.
You would find Angler just still drawing, but the drawing is just taking a wider and wider range in the dirt outside.
What is the drawing now encompassing?
It has a pangolin in it because he saw a couple of the pangolin last night. And since it's early morning at this point, he's probably also including the bird and beast folk, the bird folk, and also the leopard folk. But he keeps getting to a point where it doesn't quite click. And he has to pause and look at it for a few minutes. And then move the animals around a little bit, closer to the bear so that they're not subservient, but more as a community would be, where everyone's drawing on each other.
Repose probably spends a while observing, watching
have
this
an idea.
technique unfold.
Oh, dude. Was there an First of all, I'm interested in the idea, but was there an interaction for Angler and Repose first?
If there's an idea that needs to happen right away, I'm
No.
okay waiting for a moment.
If it's an idea that involves jumping in on this, feel free. If it's a thing to do afterwards, then all right.
I don't think I can interface it cleanly, so this first.
Okay.
All right, and Repose will, after, Repose isn't going to disrupt this creative process as it is unfolding, and as it seems to be stabilizing more into an arrangement that seems more satisfactory, but still has something missing about it. Repose will get in closer, look it over, kind of gesture over its proportions. Observe it from different angles. And then just very abruptly break from silent contemplation, just kind of looking at a corner of eye over at Angler. So, which side's the front?
What? Huh?
Your diagram that you're preparing here. Which side is the front of it?
I don't. This side, and he's
Could
going to
it
move
be-
over like 90 degrees in a few feet, and pointing where the bear is actually sitting at this point, and the pangolin is nearby. At this point is roughly where I was wanting to have it start.
Will it be like this? Spread out on a plane? Or a bright? Presented?
It matters on what I wanted to do
portrait?
with it. I was thinking, because when I first thought of it, I thought about that the village where we left the people of the wind, the Nordic tribe, whatever we call them. I wanted them to have a symbol similar to this as a remembrance, and that'd be something like a banner. So I needed to have it smaller, but every time I make it a banner, it just doesn't seem to have what I need. I need something grander, something larger. And it keeps hitting the same point where I just don't know how to expand it or contract it without losing something.
If no part of it can be removed without ceasing to make it what it is, then that is one measure of completeness. If there's anything more to be
doesn't
done
feel
with it,
right.
it should be done around it. Where
How
will
so?
this be? This is one note you have arranged. What else will play with it?
At the words play with it, he kind of gets a thought, like a light in his eyes. Wait a minute. I'm doing this wrong because I'm doing this alone. I need them, and he just kind of waves at the village. I need their perspective because I've only met the bear a couple times. They know him, but I don't know how to talk to them.
Isn't that what you've been doing all week with the rest of us?
I've been talking to you, and for the most part, I've been keeping to myself because I was worried that this would go much worse. That it would go worse, and that the bear would see any interaction with the village as being something he didn't agree with, and I wanted to be separate of that in case, as a last-ditch effort, I could talk to him and talk him down from whatever he was going to do. Where's
Well,
Milan?
it does seem we're past that point now, so...
I know, but where's Milan? Maybe.
Where is Milan?
Where is Milan?
Milan has sat on his mute button.
Oh
I would
no!
like- I would like to start the scene and rope Milan into this.
Okay. Go on, Sana.
I would like to first. I needed two things to be made clear if I'm right on this. Is the stage where the orb was in the center of the village?
It was near the center, yes.
Okay. Also, for the festival, have we put streamers up everywhere? Decorative.
Yeah, there were still decorations around.
I am Yakumaning around the trees and moving streamers in a very conspicuous manner to. It doesn't look like anything at first. Just moving it around and then scoping out the center, making sure everything's kosher, and then I'm gonna go find Milan.
Milan is watching this occurrence going on.
There are several villagers also watching this going on, figuring that probably this is best to not ask questions kind of moment. Maybe the bear wanted this to happen. Let's just do this.
I take out my old Yakuman mask. I need you to do me a favor.
Uh-huh.
Could you, like, inscribe a sigil of power onto this real quick? I have to go make magic paint.
I'll come up with something.
Nice.
Man,
Focus on friendship, brotherhood, and love. And then I'm just gonna walk away without explaining anything else.
Explaining anything.
And then I'm just gonna start rummaging through my cabinet. I'm gonna concoct a dye that absorbs emotion.
I'm going to do a sorceress working then. to infuse this mask with friendship, camaraderie, and love.
Yeah,
I-
that would count as
Yeah, I guess.
that is going to count as a sorcerer's working, and you need the component that Yang is making to do it. So first, I guess what Yang is doing needs to happen first.
Well, first of all, yeah.
I can start by sketching out what the sigil of
the
power
process would be, yeah.
So okay. So what do I roll to see if I can make a paint on that absorbs a specifically I want to absorb gratitude and worry.
So that's a very high ask. So first of all, you're going to need to roll to see if you have the materials to even do it.
I'm gonna go find Old Man to help out here.
This is probably
Good luck.
about where everybody is like This is probably Milan is baffled and like just kind of wandering towards Angler and Repose at the drawing, while Yang is climbing up the trees, looking around for Old Man.
I bellow out to nothing. I'll play Mahjong with you if you come find me.
Hold on a second. How good is Yang's perception? It's pretty good, right?
Probably very good, yeah.
Okay, so you actually will probably hear him clack down behind you and like notice where he is and all that. As he tried to just be behind you when you said that.
Stealth behind, but you just hear the thunk, and probably the swaying of a tree branch is 200, more than 200, like 1,000 pounds extra weight lands on it.
In fact, the thug behind you is actually extremely loud too. It's like a thump as part of the ghetto just sinks into the floor.
Did you jump from somewhere to here?
Man.
Whatever. Okay, a transaction. 1 game of Mahjong for your consultation on this, and I unfurl a map of the village with a sigil drawn over it that I have arranged the streamers in to match.
Old Man's
From
going to go
above.
and analyze this sigil real quick without you having to explain it first. Just to, that's an occult roll.
Yeah, that would be an intelligence occult roll.
Yeah, that's 6 successes on that.
So yeah, I guess he's just gonna immediately pick it up and go like, so what I'm thinking is I'm gonna make a bunch of ley lines to absorb like from a public work art, and then zap it around, right? And then that'll use to fuel something. Like it'll charge something over a very long period of time is what I'm thinking will happen here.
And exactly what is it absorbing?
It is absorbing gratitude and worry of the village towards Bismuth Ma, their protector, and transferring it to a spare Yaku Man mask. That I will bleed into.
Interesting. Basically, to get them to not rely on him too much is the idea.
In case
Like,
of
when you
a
say
grave
absor-
emergency. Basically, what Yang is trying to do here is give them an X factor of they can have a Yaku Man for a single night after several decades of people going, God, is the boss okay?
So my question here is, when you say absorb, is that like take the emotion out so they can't feel it, or absorb the vibes once they are in the environment?
It is basically, I'm making a giant mood, like a mood ring that will react and generate energy when a certain subset evolves.
Okay, so it detects like distress.
Yeah, it detects that and then uses, I guess, the ley lines of the streamers or whatever infrastructure I've just set up to tap into the local area and power that.
Okay, so Old Man can immediately see a couple of improvements that can be made with that in mind. It is an idea that in theory will work. It is a very, very ambitious project. Like very, like very ambitious.
Would need a lot of work.
Well, yeah, whatever. I'll keep coming back. The point is, though, this could, though,
Would
right?
work. It theoretically, if you pulled it off right, this should work.
right? Because like if my blood's in the mask and then the heavens look down there, they'll just be like, oh, yeah, it's egg, and then they'll be like, all right, he can do this then, right? We can scam heaven.
I do like scamming heaven.
I'm pretty sure this will work.
Pretty sure my entire existence is a scam on heaven in its own sort of way.
Right, that's why I need your consultation because you've done this before. Could you tell me exactly how you transferred your soul, by the way?
No.
Okay, could you tell me what the most way to move energy from one location to another is?
Yes, I can do that.
Yes, I don't care. I don't want to move it from one corpse to another. I want to
I just want to be honest. You probably don't want to burn your body while you're alive and asleep.
I might leave a finger behind to power this. But the point is,
That's fine. Who needs all 10 fingers? It's luxury.
it's the best thing I can do to skew it in their favor. The point is, though, they deserve to live, and Bismuth deserves a fucking vacation once in a while. This is the best thing I can do to actionize on that.
Old man puts a hand on Yang's shoulder, less comfortably as he did for Bismuth. It is an uncomfortable, like, old man slap on the shoulder, as opposed to a comforting, like, brush of the shoulder. Going to want something that represents two separate sides of the same sort of affair. I'm going to go ahead and recommend Morning Glories, as you can create a wonderfully dark purple red dye out of them, and also they're poisonous.
Oh, fuck, right, poison! The medicine that hurts and heals. Shit! It's, fuck! God, I hate how smart you are. Thanks.
Well, hurt and
Okay.
heal. To be honest, here's the thing. Morning Glories are mainly just hurt. They don't heal anyone.
Yeah, but he's just like, right, of course, the concept of medicine, it is a poison!
No, like, at this point, Yang is already running away and out of earshot. This old man saying that to himself.
The only reason why I recommended Morning Glories is because they can also be used in a dye.
So yeah, this is
God,
going to be a
watch,
major
tell
craft
him to
that I'm
get
probably not
snow
going to
dye
do
as well.
overnight. But
This is a sorceress working, is what this is. This is into active occult manipulation territory. You're going to need Milan and or Old Man's help doing this. Yeah, this is not just a working on the mask. This is a working on the town.
yeah, basically, Yang's going to do a first inertial test run of just being like, okay, what happens if I put paint? He's going to try mixing paints and see if he can get to zap anything through the ley lines he created with the streamers. And once that proof of concept's down, then he can be like, I should get permission first.
Fucking hell. Roll me wits occult first.
Can I buff this with the fact that this probably ties directly to my Yakuman ties?
Yeah, actually, yes. Get 3 dice, but it is not a stunt.
Just want the record to show this is not a stunt.
That does matter for willpower and stuff. Okay, so so
Man, the dice
you
hate us
rummage
tonight.
around in your giant cabinet of stuff, slapping things together, trying to get some sort of something started. You start with Morning Glories, as Old Man suggested, and that feels like a good starting point, but you don't really know fully what's going on. And
Oh, he's
you're
right.
just
This does make a nice purple, but this isn't doing what I want.
it looks very nice, and you take a lick of it, and you're like, that probably would be all sorts of really bad if I wasn't me. And then you kind of get stuck for, okay, now what do I do with it? Wait, this is magic. Right, you don't do magic.
Hey, he does magic. He just doesn't do,
Sorcery.
magic.
Where'd I leave Milan? I'm gonna pick up my entire laboratory, put it in my fucking apron or something, and just kind of see how Milan's getting along with the mask.
So yeah,
Milan
at this point, go on.
Milan is sketching something out.
I think at this point, the group could convene on Angler's drawing.
Yang, I've got something. I used your layout of the streamers. I I took a little creative license to get
Check this
across.
out, though. Wait, hold on first. Check this out. Roads, and I unfurl the map. Roads for energy!
Pretty
You
smart.
see stars in Milan's eyes.
Milan is just special interest activated. Boom.
Oh, sorry. What were you going to say about the drawing?
Oh, yeah, here. Does this work? And let me paste it in a chat somewhere.
Tabula, crimes. I think crimes lets embed.
You want it like friendship, love, and camaraderie, right?
Ooh. I like that.
Hey, this is good. Wait, let's give them swords.
Give me 1 sec.
Make them look like they're both badasses protecting each other.
Angler's gonna look up at that drawing for a second. And go,
Talisman of
wait. Hold on, let me see that.
Oh, hey, Repose, get over here. Check this out.
He snaps the drawing down and puts it next to where the drawing on the ground is. I got an idea. And he puts the drawing right in the center of, or he reverse. He puts it there and he looks at it for a second and goes, no, that's not right. Where is the center of this town for where these lines would be?
About where the stage is.
Yeah, you can point it out easily on a rough sketch of the map.
Right. Here's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to make this paint, and I'm going to explain about, the lightning rod of, hey, the boss needs help. And then we can use that to power an ass-kicking machine. And I point to the mask.
What if the mask was on something that they could take off that when they need it most in their
And
hour of
that's
need?
when we talked. Remember that bird guy who brought us here? I think he's perfect for this.
No, I mean, what if we made I was gonna say a banner, but more like a monument or something, and have the mask be a part of that monument?
Oh shit, yeah, that would make it even more powerful. Oh wait, if we invert this and then make it so that the streets are also the power absorbers, and then we start.
The streets lead to the monument, or whatever whatever is made.
Hold
you
on,
can
if we're
see
going-
that he's Angler's getting more and more frantic with how he's trying to make this work, and and then about halfway through it, he stops and goes, "Oh," and he looks over at Repose. This is how it is for you when it's just not quite right, huh?
firm nod of understanding, but then also very, very deep, low, rumbling, stone sliding noise, just sound of stone door opening. .wav as his Repose glides in deeper to this conversation. The three of you are describing a manse.
We should make this a match! Ah!
I have spoken with the locals on that subject, and they have many clear and present reasons why they would not like for this land to host a manse.
I'm gonna have to use
At
the word
this time.
match.
Okay.
If you are a liar, a swindler, saboteur, charlatan, fraud, Repose can continue on. He knows a lot of words.
Brigand blackguard.
Start switching
will
into
just-
old realm.
And there's no
Start
stopping.
constructing no words.
and
New
there's
words.
and there's no stopping of it because all of them do to some degree describe Yang.
Yeah.
Now, there is no saying that in some future time, their thoughts on such could change. As circumstances change, over the turn of seasons and ages. Until then, consider what is the least that you could do that would accomplish the ends that you desire.
Roll me your willpower, Yang.
What could I do?
Just watch the entire rest of the crew be like, wait, we're on a domain. We should do some kind of thing what focus the energy into a token of power.
I can't think. The brain cell's almost there, but
Watching the rest of the crew be very excited as they rediscover architecture. Brother! You can stack rocks! Why did brother tell us this?
Just coming up to Repose. Yo, you ever heard of this rock shit?
I put a
about
rock
the
on top
stuff?
of another rock, and now they're both very tall. I
Look,
don't
Angler's like
understand.
6 steps into the whole thing from Dwarf Fortress of just like he's been seized by inspiration. He's not thinking straight right now.
There's
What
3
is
or
this
4
magic?
Fey Moons going on in this party right now.
Thought about the stuff they put next to the roads? It's like whole different roads there.
So, hey, Yang.
yeah.
You know, there is something that has been kind of sitting in the back of your knowledge of the occult and of religion that you haven't really thought about it as a combination of just Yang doesn't think about things unless prompted sometimes, and also it raised a couple of complicated theological questions. You have a cult? Yakuman has a cult? Yakuman doesn't have a god. The prayers are just kind of going places. Maybe to you, maybe to a concept you don't know. What if you just told them to direct it?
Shit. Guys, I just had a thought. What if we don't trick them at all and just have them power it?
Why
Yes,
were
the
we
other
thinking
side of
about
this
tricking
of-
them in the first place?
Yang being like, wait a minute, I think that communities can like channel their collective will into achieving spiritual action. Brother, what have I discovered? Explain this magic. Walking up to the
Repose's
priest,
life-
wait!
Repose's life is suffering.
We should just build a monument.
Yes. Whatever. I don't care. Can we do it? It has to be done.
Can we do it? I'm gonna look at Repose.
Ask them, pointing at the like people who are probably stopping to gawk at
At this
the
point, you
four
have a small
dragons
crowd
who are
listening to you all
yammering
arguing.
in the
No, I mean,
Ask
like,
them.
would it physically be possible?
Would it be physically possible to build something? I'm gonna be honest, Yang, probably.
Well, no, like a magical thing that, like, fuck it, we'll figure it out what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, here, take this log and make a replica, and then we'll go stomp up to the bear and ask if this is anything.
Give me the log after you make the replica, and I want to paint
anyway.
on it.
Repose will just kind of briefly take hold of Angler just to interpose just one more thing. When you decide the manner of facing and orientation for this emblem, point it west,
Why?
and then disengage from that and be off on his way.
I didn't think about that.
Now Repose has things to be said to Bismuth.
Yep.
Things to be discussed.
We can cut to that while the group is discussing the architecture and the building project. Repose heads into the cave, and Bismuth kind of looks up and is currently reading the notebook again. Okay.
Still at the bed, or has Bismuth moved to any part of the room? Other part of the room.
He's scooted along the bed. You notice that there is a large divot in it that has 2 Geta-shaped imprints in it. Like, he's sitting up and, like, actively just kind of leaning against the cave wall rather than being, like, laid down in bed, but looks up curiously as you approach.
Well, that is a fair omen. Pointing at the imprints in the ground with the stick. Repose probably at this point postured with one arm behind his back and the other holding the stick and gesturing at things.
It was an unexpected, but not unwelcome surprise, yes.
And as he survived the encounter, evidently your mood is... Yes.
He was actually more helpful than I was going to have guessed. But how can I help you?
A bit of a just audible, sharp drawing in of breath. In many ways, though many of those ways, if named here, would be counterproductive to preserving that good mood. I could speak them anyway, if you'd rather they be said.
If your Hearth brothers are being a bunch of jesters and fools, I'd rather hear it before it becomes my problem, yes.
Bit of a stop, allow a beat to occur there. Immediate matters then. Local matters. That is a fair priority. Often a favorable arrangement, a little bit of yammering and mumbling as he processes and digs out of his mind which script he's preparing to carry on with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as far as immediate concerns, my brothers and I have evidently taken some interest in your well-being. Concern for your wounds. We've taken a liking to your community. You have arranged a lovely space and raised fine people within it.
Kind of waves a hand in that way of Repose is very familiar with, of like, I am dismissing the praise because I both am appearing modest, I am uncomfortable with hearing it, but I'm also like glad to hear it, but I'm not showing it.
Nodding. And so, bit of a pause. Well, how would I most wish to say this? There was a point during last night's proceedings where you asked, how do I endure? How have we endured, allowing his markings to be visible for the legacy of the family? And often when people in distress say such things, they do not really want an answer. They mean less, how do you, and more, how dare you. But it is now the day after, and
There's just kind of an embarrassed grunt in response to that statement.
we are each in more even states of mind, and Repose is actually a bit visibly scuffed and scratched a bit as an outward sign of very slight sting of having gotten properly drunk yesterday that he is putting up with.
Mm-hmm.
So, would you still ask? Do you want to know how my family survived the things we do?
If you would tell me, yes.
Well, it is a bit of a story. I am inheritor to 800 years of such occurrences, and seasons willing progenitor to centuries more.
There is a very slightly raised eyebrow at the way you word that, but no press on it.
And Repose is now willing to, well, alright, you know what, let's put this up to some dice. Let's try a bit of the old read intentions on the room here.
Okay.
Just to feel out a bit of a prompt, the perception, the socialize, and offer up that the super text is coming out here.
Yeah.
Repose is wondering if he should go for the parable that will lead up to the thing he wants to say, or just state the conclusion.
Yeah.
We'll put a willpower to stabilize that.
Yeah.
Nay for dice.
Dice have it.
You don't know? You have no idea. You would go with whatever Repose would feel gut instinct most comfortable doing.
Well, Repose will. Alright, so he will kind of break off, do a brief look around, and taking in of the space again. This is a nice place you've set aside for yourself. It could be a comfortable home, studious office, or an appropriately solemn, dignified tomb. It cannot be all three. Point sharply at bed, point sharply at desk, point sharply at the slab. Pick one, and move the others. Is this cave the place you go to withdraw and relax and find a moment's peace as you go from one day to the next? Or is this the place you go to preside over your duties as a guardian, as a divine beast, as what people will insist on calling a great man? Or is this where you go to stand with those who no longer stand beside you?
Leave it to an old fool like me to be talked down by a funeralist and immediately have a whole lot of things make a lot more sense. See, to me, there's kind of a catch as the words catch up to the train of thought that is coming to text in his brain, and he just kind of realizes, before finishing. Every moment that I didn't stand with them felt like I was insulting them. So I put them where I would be most. Repose and Bismuth, two characters very fond of the deliberate long pause.
Mhm. The long pause. The 10-page awkward silence.
Mhm. Bismuth doesn't seem upset or tense or anything like this. It's just more of a moment of just kind of a. He has had too many emotions in the past 24 hours to have much more than a well shit at that kind of revelation. So that's why I'm doing this to myself. Neat.
You sleep in a tomb. That's why you're
Yeah.
haunted. You live in a
Mhm.
grave.
Yep.
Stop it. Or
And
if you're
yeah,
going
and
to
it-
continue it, do so understanding that that's what you're doing.
Yeah, it's just very much in a moment of, kind of feel like a fool for not thinking about that. That explains some things. But otherwise,
So if you like them, be with you in your moments of peace. Why insult them by bringing your work into this? And just in emotion this time, passing the stick off to the other hand to emphasize the idea of dividing one thing from another.
to let them know that I haven't given up. You were right last night. For all I was talking and all I feel and all of what dragged on me and has dragged on me, I can't stop. I can't. Every time no matter how much it hurts, I just get back up and I do it again. I didn't really dwell on what that really meant until it made me confront that. Underneath all of it, it's still more important to me than anything else that was in there. To keep doing what I think was right and show those who left me and that I left that I'm still going.
And the way you have arranged your affairs has served you well enough to carry you this far.
Certainly could probably be improved, but I suppose it has.
Bismuth, pointing up, how much does your roof weigh? This is a quite handsome formation you've settled in. Just how much stone is over your head at this moment?
I've never been very good with that sort of thing. I'm sure you're building to a point, though.
Enough that if you were to take the whole arrangement and hoist it even a hand's breadth in the air and suddenly drop it back down again, the results would be quite violent, quite loud, quite terrible. And yet, at this moment, at every moment, these walls carry that weight without complaint. Because it was set upon them gently, gradually, because it is spread evenly, because each part of this is appropriately arranged to distribute and endure. And if some force abruptly sweeps the foundations out from under such a structure, then yes, the whole thing will suddenly and violently come tumbling down, and then wherever it lands, however it lands, silence will soon return, and any who come upon it will look at those bold stones and feel as though they've always been there.
There's what you can only describe as like a smile on his face that is both frustrated and just, and not at you, just a general, just kind of like it's just wry, just smile across his face of just, you know, you're the first preacher I've heard talk in a while to speak in metaphor and parable that hasn't made me want to immediately shut them up. A lot of traveling monks I've seen through the ages could have taken a lot of lessons out of you. So when you brought up the stone walls, I was shrugging to myself and thinking, yeah, that's what I want it to be. Rock to hold things up. And then, well, it showed me how much of a fucking idiot I was being about it.
There is that, by general standards, slight, but by Poe's standards, quite pronounced smile at, no, Bear thinks I'm good at this. Yeah, I'm preaching good. Making points with stories. Fuck yeah.
This Bismuth just kind of shakes his head.
The approval of grandpas, yes. You have asked how a stone endures, and, well, you have a stone's answer. There is, of course, more to that parable that can carry on at some length. The end point to arrive at is, you can imagine that I would take you outside and we would make a scene of pointing heavensward and asking how much that ceiling weighs.
Asking who holds up that, who patrols that, who guards the boundary, and so on and so forth.
And do you think anyone believes that the mountain, as it stands, rising from my father's back, is arranged precisely as it was in the beginning? That there have been no times when the strain maintaining the boundary between heaven and earth did not cause him to crack, to flinch, to groan, to roll over. It does not matter. No one arrangement of yourself from one day to the next is any more proper, any more true, any more complete than any other. Each simply is you in that moment on that day.
You sure you haven't been taking lessons from my forefather? Because that sounds an awful lot like something he'd say. It is a bit ridiculous to have a higher standard for myself than the gods, isn't it?
And Repose is like satisfied that this is moving in a good direction, but he can now that that word has been dropped, just kind of tense a little, shift, raise eyebrow, and be like, "Well, since you've said it, now there's another subject of conversation to have with this priest." So, you have heard very convincing condemnations of the heavens.
And you've read them.
Yes. And while I have not been on patrol so long as to have lived more egregious such events, I would think that whatever will unfold in the remainder of the year will fill that absence quite well. I have inherited many tales from many who have come before me, and Repose will move off into a story from the plague times about when Grandma was cleaning up the catacombs of one city and found in an obscure corner of what used to be somebody's like just private wizard lab a small god that was like one of the assistants to the city parent who had been lured away into this wizard lab and just kind of nailed to the floor for use as a battery in miscellaneous rituals by some asshole.
Yep.
And that consequently, cities sometimes have a portion of them that has a bad vibe and picks up an ill reputation, and it turns out this had been an underlying cause for that all along.
The local god of vibes was being used as...
God of the vibes of that district had been grabbed in an alley and thrown in a dumpster by wizards. And consequently had been out of commission for the duration of the disaster, and had no shortage of panic from being woken back up, and suddenly made aware of everything that was wrong. And that also, the gates have been closed to the sky. You don't get to go upstairs. You have to suffer down there with everyone else, while people wait out the incident. And it gets into praise, working with this god and getting them settled and getting them reconnected with the surviving community of this city and taking up the responsibilities that were now left vacant by the chaos. And that as far as the family knows, they now reign quite effectively as the new overseer of that city. Having claimed for themselves
boss.
Yeah, just a better position. And now being upheld by people they have cared for and who care for them in turn. Just a tale of community building.
Yeah.
And the point that this eventually builds back towards is there are, regrettably, many gods who profit from the misery of mortals, and thus arrange the world to extend and inflict that misery for their benefit. If even one such god dwells in that city, that is too many. It is unjust, and it would fall to beings like us to carry out what is necessary to attain justice
There's
for those who have been wronged.
There is a reflexive gripping and curling of the fingers into fists at back and forth as you are saying.
Yeah, that there is Repose allowing anger to rise alongside that. Of like, yeah, hello, I'm a monk and it is my job to
Yeah.
to smack around bad gods. I am a servant of the sun, a soldier in the army of the world, and you are old enough to know how little those words mean to people of this age. I wear this mark, and that means that those same petty divinities resent me because I do not answer to them.
I thought I heard his voice in you.
And for each such undeserving point of light which mars the firmament, there are uncounted more strange, faded, and forgotten smears upon the dome of the heavens, who time has forgotten, who have been left in much the same state as those who are trampled under the worst of the cycles which drive this world. What of them? The way that I've described poor gods just as well describes all manner of things which dwell down here with us. Is your response to guildsmen to begin? Like, Repose will, like, stop for a bit of a mood check before plowing onto this layer of conversation.
He just kind of holds up a hand and shaking his head, like clearly understanding where you're going.
Yeah, I don't need to speak further out loud. Incidentally, this is what all of the metaphor and parable and talking around things is for. Much of what happens in the mind, the soul, the heart occurs too strongly to be named. If you simply leap upon someone and begin naming all of their old wounds and fears and scars, all you do is release pain, anguish. But such things can be approached. Yeah. With vigilance. Such wounds, if left untended, won't heal on their own.
Fester.
I have in me the attitudes of a hunter and the attitudes of a builder, but sadly, somewhere between one's unhesitating initiative and the other's faultless patience is the proper attitude for a surgeon. With practice, I may find that in myself, and
I think you're better at it than you give credit for. Or at least a fireside better than anybody else I've talked to about this in a very long time.
Alright, so now, I think we've reached a point where every subject I wanted to bring up has occurred, so we can kind of assume that some additional hemming and hawing and miscellanea occurs. Then, as a closing point for Repose to give.
Okay. there is one closing point on his behalf that might extend it.
Season's willing. Or at least until this year is out. Perhaps longer. I am your neighbor. And just, the fill in mention of, yeah, he is planning to settle it. That other river that's over the hill from the first river?
Fair bit of distance, especially for folk, but certainly
Unless
a
when
better
you
neighbor
consider
than-
that Steel is also your neighbor, and
and the bird.
if either of them were to find some new frustration to inflict upon you, they might turn to me and seek my aid on the subject, and if I had not come here and met your people and met with you and been able to speak with you, I might have simply given them my aid and whatever they thought would be the best course of action, but now in place, I can turn to them and say, well, that doesn't sound like Bismuth. I've known Bismuth. I've heard from Bismuth. Let me go there again. We should talk more over the seasons.
Did Thousand Eyes really send you because he cared about me?
Shrug. I can't tell you what what he thinks. I can
What
tell
he
you what
said.
he said to me.
He said that. There's actually a fairly intense bit of eye contact at this.
And, well, yeah, repeat what was said to us in order to call us out here.
I'm no good with parables or old sayings or metaphors, but something I noticed over my years is that there is nobody who quite hate each other. Quite like two people that are almost exactly the same, except for one thing. I would say I've been a less than gracious host to the Thousand Eyes and his partner, but he's also been less than a gracious guest on occasion.
He does seem prone to barge into things unprompted.
And that's how he handles his weight. I run away, and he runs forward to look. Knowing him, he probably hasn't said anything about. Well, he's probably told you as little as he could possibly get away with.
I assume as much. But when such things are understood, even the habitual liar can, in some sense of practice, be considered an honest man.
Thousand Eyes doesn't lie as often as he does fail to mention something. quite a few things. He has been kind of staring off to the side and thinking while he says this before looking back. Whatever he has or hasn't told you. There's a, again, in character pause of deliberately picking how to say this.
Hmm.
If he trusts you enough to do something like this, and he meant what he said, in this instance, I truly believe he does. At heart. We have a lot in common in our own way. What you've done for me here, you and your hearth did. I appreciate it. And should he ever be willing, or if you ever maneuver him into a corner, he's unable to flap his way out of the situation, I feel like he'd benefit from a conversation like this himself.
One thing at a time.
He nods. He worries about me, then I might as well admit that we both spent too long in our own heads. Him a little more literally than me.
More to the point of present matters, then.
He nods.
We'd like to raise a monument. Something for you, for your community, for the legacy of past communities, which... And then you have carry on along the lines we've been talking about.
He's nodding along, listening. Doesn't seem opposed to the idea.
At this point, would Yang burst in with the finished plans?
Yes!
Go for
Perfect time of just kind of like elbow checking your way in through the partially cracked door, like remembering that it is like several thousand pounds of stone, like nearly breaking your shoulder, but still going in. Just like, hey!
Okay, check this out, check this out, check this out, check this out. And I'm going to kick a table over to a place where we can all look at a thing and unfurl the map.
Does he always do that?
Yes.
Okay, check this out. So, we're going to put a well, we're not going to, but we can put a monument here. And the cool thing is people can pray to it to make, well...
That is immediately making eyebrows raise of just, hold on, where is this going?
Okay, so you're worried about not being there for them, right?
There is an immediate, just kind of physical reaction of just
All
like,
right, I want you to go ahead and just admit to me your deep-seated worries right here, casually, right now.
again.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
Again.
Like, there's a visible...
Yang's gonna see the full body switch and go like, yeah, mood. Okay, I agree.
But there is a quick... We went over that, yes.
We did. Anyways, don't worry. I'm also worried about my own fucking inevitable fuck-ups and failures. I'm gonna die one day. Anyways,
Another twitch!
so there's this mask, and that... Okay. You know this one kid, and I'm going to describe the bird person who led us here.
Yeah.
There's a certain type of person where when they love someone, they will kill for them.
You don't say.
I don't think you understand this qualifies for you too. I want to.
My point was he actually
No,
stops mid-sentence as he realizes, oh no, I kill for other people, but then he catches what you intend is they would kill for me. And then that actually catches the word in his throat as he stops.
Like, you don't have to fight alone. And I'm gonna throw out the mask. I don't want to do this dangerously or underhand your back, but I have an idea. And I think, well, no, I know we can safely champion someone who loves the community enough to at least go out and kick ass in its name.
There is a deepening furrowing of the brow at the stare at the mask, looking back up to you, looking back at the... What is this?
I thought for an entire night, I haven't slept by the way, I thought for an entire night about what to say to you, and I realized there's nothing on the planet that could possibly... The only thing that's going to work is action. This is the best I can come up with.
Repose grumbling in the background. Stop calling our mother a planet. She does not wander. She stays here with us.
She's here with us. She's definitely here with us.
She's in all things right now.
She did not, in fact, go out for smokes and never came back.
Bismuth is just visibly trying to keep up with Yang's level of energy. You didn't explain what the mask is.
Oh, alright. The mask will transfer... Okay, well... Trying to think of a way to do the scientific... Okay, look. The mask, someone puts this on, and if the community believes enough that it needs a champion for you, it'll turn them into a badass. To save you, specifically.
How? How? But visible, like, what? Based on what? Have you done this?
Yes. Kind of. I'm not gonna lie to you, we're basically doing tax fraud in heaven with this, but
That actually makes his eyes light up very briefly. Wait.
I have a thought. We all agree, low key, right, that heaven is fallible, right?
He actually holds up a hand. Are you trying to defraud exigency?
I am trying to make a cult who is so prevalent that when heaven looks down on us from their shitty throne up there, they'll see like, oh, that's Yaku Man. And no matter who's behind the mask, they're Yaku Man.
Bismuth's head very slowly turns with like audibly tensed neck tendons to the point where you can just see and hear and feel him turning his head against the tension to repose. Have you... Does he know what an exigent is?
Does it matter what the word is used for it? Like we could have called fire super murder gas or something, but it's just fire.
This isn't semantics. Do you know what exigency
Names mean
is?
things, Yang.
Dude, it says Yang know what exigency is, probably.
We've met a couple of exigents.
But the metaphysical process
Miscellaneous.
Yang probably would not know. It might have just washed off.
Swamp Grandma is an exogen, for instance. You know one personally.
Swamp
Grandma
Grandma and
was-
Rebel Leader.
Yeah. Swamp Grandma was given her power by a former god of Swamp who died to do so.
Okay. So yeah, I guess when Yang would say this, like, in response to this, all we have is semantics. That's why it's a community thing.
Just continued baffled stare. So...
Propose also noting that there are definitely Old Realm dialects in which super murder gas is what you call fire.
You're not helping.
Bismuth is just slow down.
Oh, and that's
Right.
also why it has a battery. Well, a charge.
I said slow
What?
down.
All right.
Let me try to understand what you're saying and what you are doing.
I want, with your permission, to use an experimental community defense system.
Yes, but I am going to ask you how we got here. So let me ask, please.
Okay.
Like, his hand is a kind of extended in a kind of a pleading palm up gesture, but all the fingers are about 25 to 50% curled inward. It just kind of locked there. You have a cult.
Well, yeah, I guess.
The cult worships an identity that you mantle, not you directly.
The identity of a legendary trickster who fights for justice.
Which means that prayers to that divinity are going to you through an intermediary that does not have a god in it.
This is the weird part because the god is Yakuman, and I freely admit I am not Yakuman, but I do assume that mantle. As much as I would like to be Yakuman, that is not how this works.
Important question. Is there a god who you are modeling yourself after, or did you make this up?
If it is modeled after anything, it is by accident. I'm going to be real with you. This entire thing is a bunch of reflex responses to injustices, and see, I'm doing this on the fly.
There is just kind of a slack jaw up and down motion as Bismuth is staring at Yang and just like, roll read intentions, the both of you.
That's will, and then, or that's wit social. All right, that's wit socialize.
With socialize.
You're just gonna let this heretical ass dude just say this? All this
No,
heresy in front
that
of
is
you.
not. That is a combination of two things: is oh my god, you're a genius, and oh my god, I'm staring at a teenager version of myself. This is me before I fell down and never got back up. So, let me get this straight again. Of a cult. The cult is praying to an idol that they assume is a divinity, but does not have a god posted to it in either Yushan or the terrestrial bureaucracy.
Nope.
They are praying to what is effectively an empty seat that you constructed and hid behind.
And I'm willingly abdicating it for the general masses so that they can defend themselves and also help those they love.
Leans back, puts hands on temples, closes eyes, just kind of puts head against back wall. And your intention is that anyone can be hiding behind the chair, so long as they know that the secret is that the chair is empty, and that they can sit on the chair, and that you are tricking everyone into...
See, that's where...
there is a naked stare of, like, horrified admiration at this point as it is starting to click.
There are a lot of... This is incredible. This is an abusive minefield. I'm an idiot, but I'm not dumb.
No, that's not, like, it's not like a horrified abusive thing. Like, it's more... I have never heard of, well, frankly, anything you're saying. Well, I've heard of closing things, but what you are saying, if you pull it off correctly, if large, very, very large if, this could go badly, I'm going to warn you right now, but if this goes correctly, You have effectively created a god that exists solely in paper.
Wouldn't that be really funny? They
And
a
you intend
bunch of assholes would hate it.
and you intend to use this shell god that doesn't exist to request heaven for divine backing to empower its worshippers who do exist, even if it doesn't.
The important part here is that a community has to power this. You have to get how many people are here? Like hundreds of people to agree with you. That's what I think makes this worth going after.
So you've defined this god as communal protection and there is just like thousands of emotions going across the face of just this is so stupid and this is so smart at the same time fighting visibly on his facial expressions.
Like it might work. We have to try, right? I don't know.
If you do this right, if you do this right, you said you wanted this to act as a temporary exaltation for a community to defend itself.
It would last for however long people believe in it, I guess, or until, well, the power source goes away. So if he fails,
Yang, your name was, right?
Mhm.
Yang, if you tell any other priest, aside from your hearth brother, anything you just said to me, you are going to be killed in a way that is going to be used as a school lesson for 1,000 years.
yeah, that'd be all right too. They probably inspire some cool people.
This is the most that he has said while sitting in one place on a subject one could generously call theology. In the last 3 seasons, there is minimal concern that Yang would volunteer. He's withheld most of this aspect of his goings on to this point from me.
The fear that I have, aside from the many obvious direct of the bureaucracies discovering that someone has invented a way of defrauding prayer and heaven in a new way. What happens if they empower someone who doesn't want to put it down and convinces the community to let them keep it?
That's why we have more than one mask.
What?
And then we give the other community we give each of our neighbors loaded guns too, of course, because then we have a super. Like,
You're doing this with more than one mask.
Well, not yet, but that's the idea.
I adore Yang.
I'm not irresponsible. I make sure it works safely first. I mean, come on.
What? Forget everything I said. He actually says over to Repose. Have him speak with Guan. his partner, well, he said it might be able to help out with the logistics of this, but I am sitting here, and every way I could think of warning you not to do this is something that you have either clearly already thought of and addressed, or you also have no fear of whatsoever. Just shaking head again, staring. It just. You know, you could tell me that you were Gillis himself walking into the room in a human guise, and I would believe you at this point. Just Repose catching means just fuck it. You could just be one of the biggest gods of the setting.
is
Directly
the name being
fucking
dropped
with me,
there.
and I. What?
Yeah, people are confused in the audience. Yeah, that is the name. That is the Wood Dragon.
That is
The original.
the wood. Yeah, basically, what he is saying is, you might as well be the Wood Dragon walking into this room to fuck with my head personally.
He's calling you Wood
and I would
Boss.
accept this.
You're being very Wood Boss right now.
That's high praise. Huh?
He is basically equally willing to believe that you are a young Dragonblood too hopped up on ideas and invincibility to be willing to go through with this, or also just a primeval force of creation coming in to mess with him for reasons. These are both equally possible in his brain right now. So what you're saying at the end of this is that you want my village to be your test site.
Yeah, there's no way around it. One, because it's the perfect situation where it does have someone who clearly can defend it under the perfect circumstances, but if nothing ever went wrong, then the other village would still be here, and I don't know. You need help. Everyone needs help. We all need each other.
All of his ideas sound like this when he's in the process of inventing them. At some point, they can often be seized and redirected into more tangible, productive forms.
I'm willing to go.
I was just hoping to assemble somewhere tasteful to situate either that, or pointing again at various bits of his furniture to indicate.
I am willing to go along with this on well, 2 conditions.
Fair enough.
First, you build an innate kill switch into this.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. I didn't even think about that part. Just like a flat.
I have seen
panic
too
button.
many. I have seen too many communities rip themselves apart to know that relying on the unity and harmony of a single group of people in one direction can't go badly. Second is, you may test this in my village, and if it goes poorly, I will dedicate the entire rest of my existence until it is done to finding you and eating you from the toes up.
I agree, but just me.
Could you repeat that? I actually didn't catch what you said.
Yeah, just like, all right, I agree, but just me, no one else.
Yeah, he just nods at that.
All right, I'm willing to die for my ideals. Ain't got much more in them anyways.
Again, you just kind of see the look across his face of just a reflexive kind of inward Christ. It's like looking in a mirror moment. If you need any help setting it up, I'll do what I can.
I mean, yeah, I'm also going to ask for your, you've seen more of this than I have, so I'm probably going to want your consultation too to make sure this isn't.
One thing at a time. Repose is now beginning to nudge Yang back.
What? Huh? What?
What's-
Oh. But my charts.
Rein this in. Fold your charts.
For all the charts.
This has been a most interesting, fruitful, and helpful discussion, Brother Repose and Yang. I wish you luck on your endeavors, and I beg you not take this the wrong way. It is becoming abundantly clear to me that you share a considerable amount with my partner, with considerably less of the questionable element.
Yes, about him. As we are preparing to move away from this, probably being mostly done with the scene. Just a few more quick points to have out there. I will be plain that should the proper opportunity arise, I will destroy him. Likewise, should the proper opportunity arise, he will destroy me. What you have shown us of him describes one so who should be incapable of even pretending to coexist with living things. That he is able to present such as he does to you is interesting. I propose we'll leave behind a Necronomicon.
He actually holds up a hand as you mentioned that. I think it's because he saw me as the one avenue he had left. And I realize that it is also certainly a futile ask. More so than anyone, really, but...
Sir, do not misunderstand me. This should not be... this is not a matter of taste, of preference, of emotion. This is beyond... This is beyond a matter of will, what I speak of, that he is one who is so suffused with the deepest aspects of the world below that he should be allergic to living things, that the presence of the taste of life should offend his bones as a poison.
And I'm the only one that doesn't do that anymore.
And that is interesting.
There is one request I have, and if you can't fulfill it, or even find it against your way of it, I can't blame you, but even if it's only to me, even if it's only in that context, even if it's a mask. There's something in there, still in there in him. That if he wants to die for his cause, his contempt for the Death Lords is only second contempt for heaven. He just kind of lets that one hang unless pressed.
Yeah, I propose we'll kind of let this point hang, because this is getting back into end of, like, probably, vibe over with subtext. This is getting back into the space of, I can say a lot of things, honestly, that would not be productive for you right now.
Yeah, and that's basically what he's saying is like, and even without a read intentions, he has to say this, even though he knows right now that it is a matter of like, I'm grappling with whether or not this is a good response or not, but I have to say this out loud. And then once it is out there
And
in the wild, he's willing to let you go.
so, propose will be, as said, leaving behind a Necronomicon. You should know more about the world below than the words of one devout militant, one void apostle, before deciding if your people should migrate there.
Thank you.
Okay, that went on for a while, but I think we're now
Yeah.
we're good. We've accomplished a lot of.
That was an incredibly
Fair talk.
narratively dense set of scenes. So
I got to set up my major character arc.
yeah. Also, I did get a little elbow that Milan and Angler also had one thing they wanted to do on the side
All
before
right,
narrative time.
got to that.
Hey,
But I
Angler,
will step away for a moment.
is ringing again.
Milan, I'm gonna be honest, for the past 12 hours, my entire body has been ringing, and I don't know how to shut it off.
Are you shaking?
Yes. Is this how it's like when you start working with leather or wood or anything? Is this what it is?
Not. Take a deep breath. Are you okay?
I will be. I'm still processing. I have an idea and it just won't get out of my head, and I got to get it down before it leaves the right spot.
I'm going to pull out a piece of scroll and quill and ink. Just start writing.
No, writing. And then I point to the drawings behind him that have taken over a larger and larger thing. That's what I mean. That
Drop
that
it on the ground now, noticing it. Oh. Huh.
I don't know what it was. Something clicked in that cave. When he showed the picture of the bear and the cubs, I saw a way to honor and respect that and build upon it, and I just can't get it out.
At this, Milan is pacing about the drawing, looking at it. Did this start in chunks, or how did you make this?
And at this point, Angler kind of looks up and sees where the sun is in the sky. Well, when we stopped talking with the bear last night, I walked out here and I started. And then Repose talked to me about 30 minutes ago.
Ordinarily,
I don't
I
remember
tell you to
anything
go
in
to
between.
bed.
It's all kind of a fuzz.
Ordinarily, I tell you you need sleep, but
I'll sleep later, but this has to get down. Too many things have been not worked out right. That I got to get this one right.
I'm going to let me look at a roll I can make at this. Let me look at my sheet. Just to think this out.
Mm-hmm. What is your goal?
My goal right now is there is something manifesting with Angler, possibly with his dragon blood, maybe like a charm that's blocked or something.
So
He-
are you investigating this from like an occult perspective of something screwy occult wise, or are you like investigating the mindset?
I've been in a sorceress workings mindset lately, so I'm going to investigate this in the occult sense of okay, what is going on spiritually with his blood, with his brain.
Give me a wits occult with a 1 dice die.
Five successes.
You can think of a couple of different things. Could be essence fever after how intensely emotionally charged the last night was, just having that still roiling around in the system. This could be on the verge of some sort of breakthrough, as partially influenced by that. Also, this was done directly under the moonlight right after interacting with the lunar, and then just kept going and didn't stop. And now the new moon is in place and the moonlight is gone.
Lunacy.
Maybe there, maybe moon aura is kind of putting Angler a little off kilter after exposure to powerful moonoid.
Angler, do you taste anything in your mouth?
There's a residue from when I smelled our friend's letters.
No. Okay, so it's probably not essence fever.
I remember last night when I was drawing, I intentionally let my he kind of pauses for a second. I don't know how to say this. When I glow, my phosphorescence kick in just so that I could see what I was doing, because the moon started to become faded more and more away, and it was harder to see.
The new moon.
As
Yes.
you look up at the sky, there is like the moon has now become a fully new moon phase. Like this is the first night of the new moon.
Milan is pacing more, looking at this drawing. You said it's incomplete.
Yeah, and actually, this is something that Repose told me. I wanted to talk to the people, and that's why I wanted to call you over, because let's be honest, I was about to say I'm not good with people like you are, but you have your own charm with people that gets them to talk when they might not normally do it. And I was hoping you could help me talk to them to get an idea of how they could help.
I see what this is. This isn't missing a piece. This is a piece to something that is missing something. Let's go talk to people.
Yes, please. And he kind of hesitates for a second because he realizes again actually who he's talking to, and there's no right way to say it. I don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to say it. I meant what I said in the cave. I don't think I ever properly thanked you. You did save me.
This Milan's not going to respond to anything. Approach Angler and goes in for a hug.
And he just freezes. And then he just kind of slowly untenses. I don't like to... Damn it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Past months have just been rough. I keep seeming to shove my foot further and further in my mouth, and I didn't want to mess that up.
Next time I go and speak to the satrap down in Grey Falls, I want you there.
Oh, that's not a good idea for them.
I'm only standing here just because, well, Yang provided a distraction.
Go on.
I got backed into a corner and started running my mouth.
Yes, but that works for you.
I almost told them too much about everything.
You know what? Sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's fine, because that's what the rest of us are here for. What did Yang do?
Oh, I think there's more credence to the to some illegitimacy rulers behind her.
Oh. Oh. There's that very, like, minor glint in the back of his eyes of, oh yeah, this is going to be fun. I'd love to come with you next time.
By the way, Milan's still hugging you.
I know, I understand.
Yep.
Yeah, he's starting, he's giving like a
No,
little bit
you
of
don't get
hug
away.
Milan's a
and-
hugger.
And he's not, like, resisting. It's just more of a... kind of feel... fine. And he just gives a hug back, and he's like, I think Milan probably needs this too. By the way, the next time you feel like doing something silly, just get me first. I think you bring out the best in the rest of us. But sometimes you bring out the best in other people, and they might try to do something stupid.
At this, there's no reply from Milan, but small tears. Small tears of happiness. And we can jump to actually.
Yep. So, at this point, clearly the first real goal here would be to do the sorcerer's working to set up. Well, not a sorcerer's. It's actually not really even a sorcerer's working. It would just be a craft project because the focal point is prayer rather than manipulating the essence. So this would be a communal craft project to set up the monument. So I would propose that.
Why do you all
Pose-
keep over complicating stack nice rock? Raise one very large rock. Write some words on it. Start there.
I was
So,
I was
okay,
gonna say
here's an idea.
Repose. I was gonna say Repose is probably going to be the primary actor because craft charms and also stack big rock. But also everyone else can contribute with their designs and their ideas in order to buff the craft results.
So I am going to. I guess I don't even know. Like, this is on a level of like, my character would probably know how to do some weird shit here. I don't know how the fuck to start with this.
Ooh, wait, hold on. Before we go any further, actually, this is something based on what Yang was talking about. Angler kind of heard the idea about that paints, and he wanted to actually just like ask Yang, you said something about paints. I need you to make me a lot of paint.
Yeah.
Maybe not the stuff that built. Well, you know what? I don't know if, what happened with the idea of you making the paints that draw on people's emotions, but whatever you can do, give it to me, because I need it.
Well, I can just give you the failures. It's still pretty colors.
Sure, I don't care if they're failures. It's color is color.
All right, here you go.
I don't know how this works right now.
What? Whatever. Here, just take them. I'm gonna give them, I guess, a pigment of every color.
I have a question. How big is the monument that we're planning to build?
Hey Repose, how big is the monument you plan to build?
Well,
So it
is the
needs to be-
customer looking for a memorial or some kind of some kind of outdoor office, or just a nice rock to lay against to sleep during the day. Repose gave his recommendation of
It would
pick
be a
one
memorial.
thing that the cave is for and move the other thing somewhere else. This is that somewhere else.
The monument is the memorial.
Okay, so we have our contracting table out, we have the specs, we have spreadsheets out, we have our hard hats on. So we're making a memorial to those who...
What's the biggest freestanding rock that is just laying around available somewhere in the vicinity?
Hey, old man.
I mean, there's like most of the bird folk village is built into a.
What?
It's
Any
built
really
into
big rocks up from your view?
You see any really auspicious rocks?
Freestanding rocks.
There is almost certainly some form of megalith nearby because there is a karst formation in the village.
Something
So
with
yeah,
a
you
good
would have
home
something
into it.
But yeah, actually, old man, roll me.
Find us an auspicious rock to use for a monument.
Yeah, old man and/or repose can roll their occult omens and stuff like that to find rock with vibes.
I will do so, I guess.
As old man
Gonna
has
think
been
about
constricted.
rocks. Gonna think
Oh,
real
man!
hard about rocks.
Old man actually finds a rock that old man vibes with. Like, that's a really good rock. If that rock was bigger, that would be a really fucking sick mountain. That's a good rock. That's a good shape. This would be really good to actually, like, do something important and meaningful.
Before
with.
old man tells anyone else about it, he's going to really look at the rock and like look at its silhouette, and then realize, of course not. It's so small, but it is quite good.
Did you find
All
one?
right, so then Repose, following all of his well-ingrained and intuitive knowledge of the dead, the appropriate workings that should surround places for mourning, that probably just corroborating, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
It's the
no,
rock.
as old man is just kind of like privately enviously examining Big Rock, Repose just kind of follows the vibe and shows up. And just kinda looks
alright,
at
so
it.
like Repose is walking along, still in like lecturer posture, probably has some locals following along who are interested, and he is pointing at various other features around and what they indicate about the lay of the land and its energies and its principles, and then without even having to look at it, points to where the rock is. As he makes his conclusion about the site, and then turns around and just
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
actually
all
has
you
a moment
say-
of surprise of, oh, there's just already one here. Yeah, all right, yes.
You want it moved at all? Because I think I could do it.
All
No,
you
it
really
stays
have-
here. We work here.
All it would really have to do is you could kind of pull it up to be at less of an angle and stand up straighter, and that's all it really needs.
I can do that. One moment. And Angler's going to walk to a nearby stream. And as he's doing there, he said, Obsidian, I'm going to need your help for this too. Get over by the rock if you would. And Angler's going to put his hands in the stream, and he's going to start pulling the water in. And as he gets up to the top of his shoulders, he pauses for a second and stops it, and then puts his hand on the shoulder that Milan's head would have been on, and pulls that residue off into his hand, and then uses Embrace the Violent Flow to give himself an aura of water, which he's going to use to help lift the rock.
Haha, it's okay. I'm not gonna make you actually use the feats of strength system because that system is very sad and very just depressed. But Obsidian and Angler both roll me strength athletics, and we'll see how well you can do this.
It already has a smooth face that is pointed west.
We need it in the center of town.
No, it's not moving the rock. It is like it is.
Not
A si-
for a grave. If you place a grave site in the center of the community, you make the entire place a tomb.
Like
The
again,
dead would like the survivors to go on living.
And that's why.
You set them aside in an appropriate place to be remembered and to look out on who
What's
on
the
who
other?
ain't left behind.
I'm not saying picking it up and putting it somewhere else. Is what Darren had mentioned about
Yeah,
needing to adjust
we're just
the
adjusting
rock.
where
the
it
one
is.
thing would be
Yeah.
adjusting the angle to be more auspicious, because that's literally the only thing you would need changing. It's like tweak it a little more west and a little more upright.
Give me a moment as I am cross-referencing some things, as I have not had to roll anything yet this session.
Yeah.
That's all good.
Did we get any stunt dice for the two of us together on this one or no?
You did one dice done for both of you.
All right. Using. Lord, I need to. I have not
Actually,
used
two
my
dice done
athletics
because-
term.
2 dice done for incorporating the tears from that one. That was a good touch.
Anyone? So I'm looking it up now. Anyone knows the athletics charm 1-to-1? No, it's
No.
2 motes each. Nope, 2 motes each. Never mind. It's automatic successes. 11.
Wait, what charm was that?
I'm
That was
using the athletics excellency.
Athletics X.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm using it as well.
Effortlessly Rising
Oh,
Flame
by
is
the
an
way, there's
additional
a-
non-charm die for every 10 as well.
Yeah, it's auto successes and then reroll 10s.
So yeah, you
Yeah,
roll
just-
2.
So anyway,
Mhm.
I started rolling.
8, 10.
Left.
Nothing on those bonuses,
Okay, so 6 from Obsidian
12 for me.
but
and
from Obsidian,
12.
Oh, actually, no, not
Yeah,
8.
just to note that the total
7.
on the
I only have
occult
3
roll there-
athletics.
He's 12 actually, because the 10s re-rolled non-1 failures up there
Yeah, I
for
said
the
12.
excellence. But
Yeah.
I mean, also I went and added dice to my
Oh, to
occult roll
yours,
that I had
yes.
left
Oh,
out.
to yours. Right. Gotcha.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
They're like, yep, that's rock.
And while
So,
this
yeah,
is going on,
it-
Milan is getting some townsfolk together and introducing them to, okay, here's the plan. We would like your input on what this monument looks like.
So
And say,
normally it
well,
would take like at least probably a dozen people, maybe a little less than that if it was mostly the leopard folk, a lot more than that if it was mostly the pangolins. To even budge a rock like this, you would have to like dig it out, you would have to make a sledge, you would have to do all sorts of things moving it. All you have to do with Obsidian and an angler putting their whole ass effort into it is put a rope around it basically, and then have Obsidian get under the leverage point on the far side and just squat and start pushing up, and have Angler grab the rope and start pulling forward. And
Not a rope, it's water.
yeah, no, so you make the rope out of the water and just pull. And as everybody's kind of discussing this and Milan is starting to introduce people, you just hear this massive shifting of weight as you can see Obsidian like sweating and trembling as he is lifting up the entire weight of the rock on his shoulders as Angler is shoving and pulling on the rope of water to ensure that it goes forward and it maintains its position and settles in as dirt is being kicked into place in the hollow left behind. And you can just kind of see all the villagers stop listening to Milan and just kind of stare at the Slackjaw, just like, whoa! Usually,
big!
just, whoa, big! Yeah, you get the feeling that anytime that Bismuth would do anything like this, he would just turn into like a dinosaur rather than bother with being human-shaped. But just 2 human-shaped humans moving a rock that is at least probably like 6,000 pounds minimum. It's just a whoa, big moment. So yeah, it is now in position. Milan.
Milan is give a bit more information about what this rock is supposed to be and explain, okay, Bismuth had this old family long ago, and give that the Fae happened to them, and he
Milan would
Yeah,
be better practiced at having, a polite speech to give on the
polite
subject.
speech, and essentially giving them, okay, what is an answer for why is he sad, and the answer given is, well,
I'm giving you a charisma socialized with your awkward small talk specialty because it's just like, so yeah.
Yeah, he had an old family. He misses it, and you all remind him, and that's why he loves you.
Yeah, with specialty and a 1 die stun. I think awkward small talk has been the specialty that has been tagged most often in this game, and I love it. Good lord!
And and that's why I wanted to ask you all for your input, because this is as much for you all as it is him.
There is a kind of looking back and forward at each other before a chattering of suggestions start to come forward, and a couple of other people head back to the village of just like, oh, I know somebody who needs to be putting in on this, and that hadn't been here, and like more and more of the village starts to come in until it's probably like a significant chunk of the villagers are gathering at the site to start giving hands where they can or start giving input and chiming in.
There is a swarm of bees that is nearby hanging out but is not attacking anything, just they're here too.
The bees are happy.
The bees have perched on top of the rock, and confusion of rock move? Rock move. Why, how? Rock.
Bees are family just as much as everyone else.
During all of this going on, by the way, old man's gonna be watching the entire affair of, moving the rock. That's gonna take a while, and is two very strong men doing it all and everything, right?
Mhm.
Is going to look at this and be very confused about why they did not just carve it first and then move it on rollers.
That's exactly what I said you would normally do, but hey, if you've got the muscle.
Oh, we aren't carving it. This rock is perfect. Nothing gets written on this rock.
So where is the rock
The
geologically?
bees like it as it is.
The rock is now near a river out slightly past the tree line of the cleared village in a kind of a more sparse area. You could probably do a little bit of wood felling to make it a more open area and less overgrown, but it is already old growth forest, so there is still a good amount of space for people to mill around and contribute and walk around and be in the area.
Hey,
So-
Repose. Imagine you have a table, and death is like the table is death, right? And you get mad and you flip it over. What do you get?
Propose
This is a
just
serious
stands there and
theological
blinks
question.
at you.
This is a serious theological question of what is the opposite theologically of death.
It's stagnation.
That sounds like a synonym.
Nope, it's different.
How is that different? Scholardom will happen later.
Death is a change. It's permanent, but it's a change.
By most measures, birth would be the inverse of death.
Not life.
Renewal, creation. Life is what happens between the two.
That's a good point. Wait, birth. Birth.
Birth chamber.
Yang is gonna wander off like that meant anything.
That is what he do.
There you go.
Actually, at that mention of birth, Angler kind of perks up for a second and goes, "Got it." And he stops for a second and realizes he still has the mantle around him, and then he's going to look around to see. There's a large crowd at this point, right?
Yep.
Where are the kids?
Oh, intermingled in the crowd with their parents.
Okay. Angler's going to so I need to explain how Embrace the Violent Flow works for people who don't get it. It pretty much allows me to grapple things from a short distance away and gives a whole bunch of other buttons. It's a very long charm.
It's a complicated.
Yeah, it even says please refer to the chart for this very complicated charm. Anyway, what he wants to do with it is kind of not be like like not a Ferris wheel, but like kind of the amusement park thing where he kind of like toss someone up and like grab them and so to speak, but like in a way for the kids so they don't get scared of him if he does it, because he wants to get their input on the colors, but he wants to like get them to be like not scared of him in the process because he realizes at this point he is a 5.5 foot tall walking monsoon of like strength and uh fury. I know it wouldn't be fury at this point, something, but water.
Roll me. Let's think about how this would be. Roll me wits integrity first, actually.
Oh boy. Oh wait, no, I'm good at integrity. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm ruling this as like a self-evaluation, like internal vibe check situation.
Yeah.
Hey, these are kids that grow up in a village with a lunar as their guardian. You are among the least weird things they've probably ever seen.
All right, fair enough. In that case, I mean, it's going to be kind of those things where it's almost like he's juggling some of the kids just as like a thing to get them used to the thing and just enjoy it, let them enjoy it a little bit. And then he's going to like stop for a second and talk to them. Okay, I'm really bad with colors. You all seem like smarter people than me. I need some help for that. And he points at the rock.
That immediately makes a lot of the bird folk kids light up. And some of the pangolin folk kids kind of trottle their way over behind the bird folk dashing over. Parents kind of watching by and having had a very close eye on you to make sure they didn't drop their goddamn kids. But they start. Would you have a selection of color examples?
I mean, he would have all the colors that Yang laid out, and he would also be like asking like if you know of any other colors in the area, because we've been here for checks the moon a day or two, so if there's others, I would love to have them.
So you get a bunch of them just kind of picking out, I like this one, no, I like this one, I like this one, and it's just kind of, you get a vague consensus, but it's more kind of a license of do what you want, but they kind of have a preference towards a vibrant tone. And there is a couple of kids who immediately go running into the old growth forest. Parents kind of not
You run in the woods and never come back. Well,
No.
shit.
The parents are not like immediately jogging after him, but they go like to follow and keep an eye. But it's a matter of like, this is not the first time they've been raised in here to that they know where to go is safe in the near environment of the village. And about like 5 or 10 minutes later, a pair of the pangolin folk children come back with their claws clutched around a couple of bunches of like riotously colored wildflowers. Just incredibly intense purples and pinks and reds and yellows.
I would look for Yang, but he's gone, and go, okay, and then look more towards the adults on this one. I don't want to mess this up. Can you help me make the colors?
They nod very happily and they sit you down, and their parents help sit down and guide them through a little bit of it. But they show you pretty simply how to like take the petals and either crush up some of the flowers or extract the pigmentation stuff with some of the other ones. They know how to make the dyes. They've learned at this point, and you get a very vibrant set of like the colors that would be probably very good as accent points. Although the kids, if left to their own devices, would probably paint the entire thing in like electrical neon colors.
Yeah, it's not going to be electro neon colors, but while he has the opportunity for a couple of the kids, he's actually going to take a little bit of the paint and do it kind of like face paint on them just to get the right idea, because it's different to have drawings on the ground, but if you have an actual live subject that you can get an idea from, he's definitely going to do that.
There is a moment of you go to put some face paint on them, and it's like, wait, hang on, beak, long snout, scales, and then you just kind of daub some accent marks across the beaks and snouts and the parts that are not covered in feathers and scales, the stuff that would be like easily washed off.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
a little bit on the scales, and like drawing some little, like, water droplet symbols across the scales of the back of some of the pangolin folk kids, and they're all arguing of like, I want that color, no, I want this design, and they're all immediately just super into this because like that's, I mean, hey, it's free tattoo, like, color tattoo day.
And later on, he would definitely use water to wash that off because he's pretty much a human washing machine if he really wants to be. So that'll be okay for the parents. But he's taking that idea in order to make the right idea for what he wants to put on the rock face. And he's kind of looking over it because he probably didn't hear this from Repose. Are you doing anything to that, or is that what I'm working with?
All right, so I think the idea to settle on here is the rock is perfect and is going to be what it is. Repose has probably spent some time in the background of this, thoroughly cleaning and polishing and settling the surface and complimenting and soothing and reassuring the rock that it's a very good rock.
I have an idea.
So
It's good rock.
the
Not bad.
So furthermore here, so that all decoration that will be done to the surface of the megalith is going to be painted on. Because yes, this means that the images could wash away over time and will require the constant maintenance of those who live and keep the tales that are recorded there. That's the point. It is
That's
a
the
living
idea.
record of history.
This is a constant memory and a constant living communal.
They will have to
thing
come
that
here and
represents-
retell the tales and repaint the images and keep all of this
So I
together.
actually have a way to +1 this. I've been rolling on Morgan's plant name generator.
Yes! Yes!
I have got the twinkling parasitic orchid. I want to put these in a ring around the monument and
Yeah,
siphon
yeah.
whatever energy is around here into a focal point and use that to charge something.
Fuck, man. Okay, roll me intelligence survival with a 3-die stunt. By the way, yeah, shout out to Morgan in the chat who made a random generator for survival and foraging, and it gives some fucking incredible results.
So yeah, we're going to use a parasitic orchid to symbiotically move emotions, I guess, to a spot and use that as a power source, and we'll see what happens.
So what I'm going to say is that what you do is you take, like, dead wood from the forest floor and bark that has been shed and things like that a parasitic plant would grow on, like dead, mulch material, which, again, life and death, decay and rebirth. Here is a bunch of dead material, and here are a bunch of twinkling, beautiful flowers that are growing out of it. And part of the maintenance of this monolith is going to be going out and getting more mulch material once it starts to run out, so the flowers can keep growing.
Shit, this is smart.
At some point, Obsidian would approach Repose and just ask. It's supposed to be a monument, right?
Yes.
I don't know how much this would help, but and he hands you a couple sheets of paper. As many as I could remember, maybe Bear will add the rest, and it is a good amount of the names that he had gotten from Bear of the generations.
All right, so we carpent up just a complimentary shrine to be book storage space to keep these and any other records that they feel should be put to words.
Angler is looking around after, doing the painting and getting the dyes set up and helping come up with that idea, and noticing Yang just kind of, at first being very confused at what Yang is doing, carrying giant piles of what look like firewood and like half-rotten logs, and then handfuls of seeds, flowers, and oh wait, okay, that's smart. And then you glance back over and you notice Bismuth has quietly just shown up, not quite at the exact edge of the crowd, but within the outer ring of it, and is just kind of quietly watching and making a couple of comments to some of the people around him who look like they are some of the elder folk of the village.
Okay, in that case, Angler's going to start painting then, unless anyone has anything else they want to add in. Okay. And he's going to start at the bottom, and he's going to start with like a multitude of pangolin children as it goes up, and it's going to be surrounding a sleeping bear with a couple of the leopard folk perched either on the top of the bear or around the bear, perhaps in a tree or something, with the bird folk around as well, either to the sides or above. And as he's painting, he's going to slowly start talking just because it helps him work it out. A few months ago, we found a monument in a place far south of here, in a village that had been long abandoned. We found remnants of what had been there. And at first, I didn't really think much of the place because it was what had been. Nothing seemed to be there. But a few months after that, we talked to some people and they moved to that location, that soon to be village, and they started it again. And they breathed life back into what was not there. And that made me think of what this village is. It's the continuation of a cycle of life, of everything. And in many ways, I think that village might be something, might get a sister stone to this one as a remembrance of what this one can be, so that there's always connection somewhere from here to what was, and then maybe if there's a village that comes after this one to what could be. I promise to all of you as I'm doing this, I'm going to make that other monument. We're going to make that other monument. And if you ever travel, I'll show you where it is, because it's a special place. And he kind of glances over the bear is, and it's a reminder of what was. And he's going to continue drawing then.
A backdrop to this whole sermon is a steady series of decisive, powerful, echoing wood noises and stone noises as Repose is assembling a small altar. Probably, if we want to run with the idea of this rock is perhaps as depicted in this good fan art, vaguely bear-shaped.
Vaguely, I love this art so fucking much.
You know what? We're gonna go with that.
Then
That's
so
what it
like
is.
the altar will be assembled down here in the shadow of the front of the bear, in the space defended by the bear.
And since I've never done this before, what do I roll for craft?
Usually Dex.
Yeah, usually dexterity plus craft.
Okay. I need to look up the charm expertise for this one. One mode each. Okay. Oh boy.
I'm gonna give you a 3 dice done for the speech.
Okay. Do I reroll any dice on this one? No. Nope. I'll make that 8.
As the speech wraps up and the painting is going on, you notice a couple of villagers are coming in as they are not going into what you are painting, but they are going to the sides and putting down their own little bits and pieces here and there of imagery that is important to them. You can tell that one of the kids is coming up, and one of the first things that is put down is a very vague outline in gray paint of what looks like a bear. Like, bear-shaped head, oval lump, 4 little sticks coming down for legs kind of thing. another of the leopard folk is coming up, one of the elders that was speaking with Bismuth, and immediately starts painting what looks like a portrait. And without saying anything, it is immediately clear that it was one of their either parents or grandparents, someone that was dearly important to them. And other people begin to come in and paint as well, and Angler, while fixated on the painting, hears very loud footsteps coming up behind. Not loud like stompy, but just it's busy. No one in the village would be that big except him. And as the glance over, he's reaching into a bag and pulls out the plaque from inside of his cave, dismounted from the wall. Where do we put this?
The altar is probably conveniently finishing up around them. Proposes applying oils, cleaning, polishing, situating, complementing.
Angler begins to reach for the plaque and then stops. And then with the last little bits of the violet mantle is going to reach out and grab a couple of the kids and roll them up to each side to grab a part of the plaque. I don't know. Where do you guys want it?
The hand holding the plaque trembles a little bit as the kids take it away. Fingers curl back and hold against the chest as he straightens himself up. And they look at the stone, kind of looking and seeing, well, clearly it wouldn't rest against the stone anywhere. They look over at the altar, at the nicely shaped indent that Repose so kindly and thoughtfully put into the top of it, so it could lean against the back and be in a good place. And they point there, and Angler is able to use the last of the mantle to guide them over there and put the plaque in its resting spot.
As he puts it there, he's not really going to look at the bear, but he knows that it's close enough that he can hear him. I wasn't the one to talk to you. I'd be the worst one to talk to you, but I hope my brothers helped, even a little.
If you had anything to do with making them the men they are, then you hope just as much as they did.
They already had that in them. I'm just here to make sure they stay upright.
Well, if you'll listen to words from a hypocrite, then make sure you stay standing too, then, right?
A little bird told me something similar.
That little fuck.
Yang is digging a hole.
Yang is digging
Yang
a
has
hole.
been left unsupervised.
So we have the rock, right? And then there's a circle, and then there's the altar somewhere, and we said that was in the shadow of the bear, right?
Yes.
Metaphorically speaking, I'm digging a hole at high noon where the bear is.
Okay, yeah.
And I produce a mask. It has a letter with the emblem that Milan drew earlier.
Mhm.
And inscribed on it is a poem. You will know when you need this. And I'm not sure what the
The poetry version of it is, yeah.
yeah, just like basically when this is needed, it will present itself.
Mm-hmm.
Take the power and defend your master. And I'm gonna bundle it up, put it in the hole, and then put a really special fucking orchid on it.
It is. So the parasitic orchids are, as mentioned in the little description name, they do have some phosphorescence. You
Mhm.
put the one that has the brightest phosphorescence you can find on it, and you put it directly on top of. Oh, what would be a good plant?
Like I'm probably gonna do some wood stuff to make the roots gnarl around it.
What stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, also earlier earlier than this too, in a flashback, I found the bird that what was that guy's name? The dude who led us here, and I was like, this would be a good Young name.
God damn it! Hang on, let me get the notes because I have all of them written down, but I need to pull it up. Why do I have NPC names across different parts of the notes section? Why am I a fool?
How many years has that document spent in layout?
And well, here I'm going to
Fuck
describe.
off!
I'm going to describe the intent.
It's Diafon. It's Diafon.
So I'm gonna basically explain to him exactly what my plan is. Just like, well, and probably in terms that like are more transmutable with explaining to Beast Method. I'm gonna ask if he's okay with mixing my blood with his to fill a gap in the sigil of the mask.
He would agree to that, especially and the laugh was I was thinking, okay, there needs to be some sort of good plant that would be self-sustaining even with a parasitic or symbiotic growth orchid on it. So I went to the plant generator because it was a good idea, and I fucking can't turn down the tiny angst lichen. So it is just a rock covered in the tiny angst lichen.
Look, you gave it depression.
But yeah, all these things together, that's maybe enough to make this work? Question marks? We'll see in a couple of centuries when this town gets attacked
It's a
by
good
an actual
start.
threat. Maybe this one will work. I don't know.
Juan has witnessed the blood ritual.
Give it enough time, they'll probably absorb enough good vibes that it'll do something.
You've given Milan an idea.
Oh no, you gave Milan ideas.
All right, let's hear it.
Oh no, it's not for this. It's future ideas.
Oh, that's even better. When it works, he'll be long dead before Hespith can eat him.
Ah, trickster!
You can't punish me if I already died from my own choices.
And then Bismuth eats some random person who was the reincarnation of Yang.
Oh no, just goes to the underworld, finds the ghost, and eats that.
Yeah, fair enough, I'd say, as I die again.
You know what? I really had this coming, my ghost says as a bear is chewing on my kneecaps. Fuck me. Otherwise,
Well-
yeah, with that in place, I think the monument would be considered complete. The mask is buried, the altar is set, the books are in place, the stone has been decorated. God, what good. What good.
Success.
And that's a ritual, baby.
Yeah, and with that, I think I can actually just kind of call it a session there, because honestly, anything I go beyond this would just not. This is an emotional high note to go on for the session, I think. So,
Time we get back on the road.
next time, yeah, probably back to the rest of the adventure. You have, like, congratulations, as I've kind of alluded to and mentioned in out of character chat, in voice chat, and elsewhere. This was very close to Bismuth becoming no longer able to be dissuaded, and you not only got in at the right time, you got basically the best possible result and more than I expected, because y'all did it so fucking perfectly. So
Damage controlled.
pat yourselves on the back. You did that. You fucking crushed this arc. So next time, adventure awaits.
So Yang, you're setting off to engage in celestial fraud, but you haven't recruited any co-conspirators.
Well,
Including an already existing celestial fraudster.
So Yang, your plan is to just kind of set up an empty building in heaven that will be accumulating sacred power, but it's also completely unguarded.
Yep.
You're just going to have a bunch of envelopes full of money be sent to the address of an abandoned warehouse and just trust that no one is stealing them, that no one will notice.
I mean, the plants are there. They'll be fine.
Next
It'll be
time, everything will be fine.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
That damn Philip Sylvia.
I got boxes full of Pelops. Next time.
Next time.